you've been played, lied to, used. And while you followed society's rules, ruthless people climbed over your back to steal your promotions, relationships, and power. Machiavelli knew this 500 years ago. The world rewards wolves, not sheep. Today, I expose his 7 dirtiest rules to flip the script. But warning, this isn't for nice guys. If you're ready to finally control your destiny, let's begin. Right now, as you watch this, someone is plotting against you. They're using tactics so ancient, so proven, that they've toppled kings and built empires. Yet you've never been taught them because society needs you weak, predictable, and exploitable. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote these rules in blood 500 years ago, and they're more relevant today than ever. The question isn't whether these tactics work, it's whether you'll learn them before someone uses them on you. Why do good men drown while sociopaths swim to the top of every organization, every relationship, every social circle? Because we are fed fairy tales from birth: be kind, wait your turn, trust the system, play fair. Meanwhile, manipulators use Machiavelli's buried playbook to exploit your goodness like a weapon against you. They steal your credit while you sleep. They sabotage your reputation while smiling to your face. They weaponize your empathy, turning your strengths into chains that bind you to mediocrity. And society calls them leaders. They get the corner offices while you get the overtime. They get the promotions while you get the promises. They get the respect while you get the responsibilities. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And until you learn their game, you'll forever remain a pawn on someone else's chessboard. Look around your workplace. The person who got promoted over you, did they work harder or play smarter? The colleague everyone fears to cross, are they actually competent or just ruthlessly strategic? The boss who controls every meeting, do they have the best ideas or the best tactics? The uncomfortable truth is that competence without strategy is slavery. Goodness without power is victimhood. Every day you delay learning these rules is another day someone more cunning takes what should be yours. They're not smarter than you. They're not more deserving than you. They just understand what Machiavelli called the nature of power. It flows to those who seize it, not those who deserve it. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to seize it. Machiavelli's first dirty rule is the foundation of all power: never reveal your true intentions. Everyone wears masks, but most people wear them badly. They leak their desires through their eyes, their words, their desperate attempts to be liked. The powerful understand that mystery generates respect while transparency breeds contempt. This doesn't mean becoming a sociopath, it means becoming strategic. When you're planning to leave your job, you don't announce it 6 months early. When you're interested in someone romantically, you don't confess your feelings on the first date. When you're building a business, you don't reveal your strategy to competitors. Every poker player knows this instinctively: show your cards, lose the game. In practice, this means developing what Machiavelli called sprezzatura, the art of making difficult things look effortless. When you solve a complex problem, don't explain every step you took. When you achieve success, don't detail every struggle you endured. Let others wonder how you do what you do. Mystery creates an aura of competence that far exceeds the reality of your abilities. Your words should be chosen like weapons, each one serving a specific purpose. Instead of saying, "I think maybe we should consider possibly doing this," say, "And we're doing this." Instead of asking, "Would it be okay if I got a raise?" say, "Based on my performance, I'm requesting a salary adjustment to market rate." Certainty commands respect. Uncertainty invites exploitation. The second rule cuts deeper into human psychology: use others' emotions against them, but never let them use yours against you. Emotion is the operating system of human behavior, and most people run theirs with the security settings of a public Wi-Fi network. They're vulnerable to every attack because they've never learned it to protect themselves. Watch how master manipulators operate. They remain calm while triggering others to become emotional. They ask probing questions while revealing nothing about themselves. They make others feel understood while keeping their own thoughts hidden. This isn't cruelty, it's emotional intelligence weaponized for strategic advantage. When someone is angry, they make terrible decisions. When someone is afraid, they become compliant. When someone is in love, they become exploitable. When someone is desperate, they accept terrible deals. The powerful understand these emotional states and can trigger them at will, while maintaining their own emotional equilibrium. This means developing an emotional firewall around your most important decisions. Never negotiate when you're desperate. Never make promises when you're angry. Never sign contracts when you're excited. Never trust completely when you're in love. Your emotions are valuable data about what you want, but terrible advisors about how to get it. The third rule is perhaps the most controversial: weaponize controlled cruelty to establish dominance. Machiavelli observed that one act of strategic ruthlessness prevents 100 acts of necessary violence. Modern translation: make one brutal example to terrify 100 others into compliance. This doesn't mean becoming a tyrant, it means understanding that sometimes kindness is interpreted as weakness, and weakness invites aggression. When someone publicly disrespects you, your response must be swift, decisive, and memorable. Not out of emotion, but out of strategy. Others are watching to see if you defend yourself or accept abuse. In the workplace, this might mean publicly correcting someone who tries to take credit for your work. In relationships, this might mean immediately cutting contact with someone who violates your boundaries. In social situations, this might mean embarrassing someone who tries to embarrass you. The goal isn't to be cruel for its own sake, but to establish that you're not a safe target for predators. Most people avoid confrontation, which makes them predictable and exploitable. They'd rather suffer in silence than risk making someone uncomfortable. But comfort is the enemy of respect. When you demonstrate that crossing you has consequences, most people will choose not to cross you. One public example of your willingness to defend yourself eliminates dozens of potential conflicts. The fourth rule reveals why loyalty is often a luxury the powerful can't afford: keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Your enemies are studying you every day, looking for weaknesses to exploit. The solution isn't to ignore them, it's to study them back, more carefully than they study you. This rule operates on multiple levels. Surface level: maintain cordial relationships with people who don't like you, because burning bridges limits your options. Deeper level: actively cultivate relationships with your competition, because knowing their plans gives you strategic advantage. Deepest level: understand that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally, and vice versa. The most dangerous people aren't your obvious enemies, they're the ones who smile while they sabotage you. Keep these people close enough to monitor their actions, but never close enough to trust them with anything important. Feed them information that serves your purposes. Use them to communicate messages you want spread. Turn them into unwitting agents of your own agenda. Your real friends don't need to be watched, they've proven their loyalty through actions, not words. But your enemies require constant surveillance, because they're constantly plotting. The moment you stop paying attention to what they're doing is the moment they gain advantage over you. The fifth rule exploits the fundamental weakness in human nature: feed their greed, then trap them with it. Everyone wants something they can't have. Everyone has a price. Everyone has a weakness that can be discovered and exploited. The skilled manipulator doesn't force people to do what they want, they make people want to do what serves their purposes. This begins with careful observation. What does this person really want? Not what they say they want, but what their actions reveal they want. Money? Status? Attention? Security? Romance? Recognition? Once you identify their core desire, you can dangle it like bait while maintaining control of whether they actually get it. The key is to give them just enough to keep them hoping, but never enough to satisfy them completely. A starving person will work harder for a small meal than a well-fed person will work for a feast. Keep people slightly hungry for what you can provide, and they'll do almost anything to please you. This doesn't require vast resources, it requires understanding psychology. The promise of future reward often motivates more powerfully than immediate gratification. The possibility of getting what they want keeps people engaged longer than actually giving it to them. Master this principle, and you can motivate anyone to serve your purposes while believing they're serving their own. The sixth rule addresses the foundation of all social power: control the narrative, control reality. Truth is often less important than perception, and perception can be shaped by those who understand how information flows through social networks. Most people are passive consumers of information. They believe what they're told, repeat what they hear, and never question the source. This makes them vulnerable to those who actively shape the stories that define reality. The person who controls what story gets told and how it gets told controls how others think about everything that story touches. This means becoming the source that others turn to for information about what's happening in your shared environment. When people want to know what's really going on, they should think of you first. When decisions are being made, your input should be considered essential. When conflicts arise, your version of events should carry the most weight. Practically, this requires building a reputation for having accurate information and good judgment. Share insights that others can't get elsewhere. Provide analysis that helps people understand complex situations. Become the person who sees patterns that others miss. Once people depend on your perspective to make sense of their world, you have influence over how they think and what they do. The seventh and final rule is the most sophisticated: become strategically invisible when it serves your purposes. Power often works best from the shadows. The person everyone sees coming has less advantage than the person no one sees until it's too late. Sometimes the most powerful move is to disappear entirely, leaving others to wonder where you went and when you might return. This operates on multiple levels of human psychology. Scarcity increases value. When you're always available, people take you for granted. When you're selectively available, people appreciate your time more. Mystery generates interest. When people can predict your every move, they stop paying attention. When they can't predict you, they stay alert to your actions. In relationships, this might mean not always being the first to call, text, or make plans. In business, this might mean not attending every meeting or responding to every email immediately. In social situations, this might mean arriving slightly late and leaving slightly early, so your presence feels like an event rather than an assumption. The goal isn't to be rude or unreliable, it's to train others to value your presence by not making it completely predictable. When people have to earn your attention, they respect it more. When they have to wait for your response, they read it more carefully. When they can't take you for granted, they treat you better. But here's what happens if you ignore these rules and continue operating like the world is fair. You'll keep getting exploited by people who understand power while you cling to morality that only applies to you. You'll watch opportunities go to those who play the game while you refuse to learn it. You'll remain frustrated, confused, and powerless while wondering why good intentions aren't enough. Every day you don't understand these dynamics is another day someone who does understand them has advantage over you. They're reading your moves while you're not even aware the game is being played. They're planning strategies while you're hoping things work out. They're taking what they want while you're waiting for what you deserve. The cost of remaining naive about power isn't just personal, it's allowing manipulators to succeed unopposed. When good people refuse to learn these tactics, they abandon the battlefield to those who use them without conscience or restraint. Your moral purity doesn't protect anyone if it leaves you powerless to help yourself or others. But when you master these rules, everything changes. You start spotting manipulation before it affects you. You recognize emotional attacks and respond strategically instead of reactively. You see through social games that once confused you. You develop the kind of presence that makes others think twice before testing you. People begin seeking your advice because they recognize your understanding of how things really work. They invite you into conversations they wouldn't have before because they respect your strategic mind. They offer you opportunities they wouldn't consider giving to someone they see as naive or easily manipulated. Your relationships improve because you stop being a target for predators and start attracting people who respect strength. Your career advances because you understand office politics instead of pretending they don't exist. Your confidence grows because you stop being surprised by human nature and start predicting it. The transformation isn't just about gaining power, it's about becoming the kind of person who can't be easily victimized. When you understand these rules, you stop living in reaction to what others do to you and start living in strategic response to what you choose to create. One viewer, Marcus, used the third rule when a colleague was sabotaging his projects. Instead of complaining to management, He documented everything and waited for the perfect moment to expose the sabotage publicly during a team meeting. The colleague never tried it again, and others in the office began treating Marcus with newfound respect. The tools work when you have the courage to use them. Another viewer, Sarah, applied the fifth rule when negotiating her salary. Instead of asking for what she needed, she researched what her boss wanted most, reducing department costs while increasing productivity. She presented her raise request as an investment that would save the company money long term. She got twice what she originally planned to ask for. These aren't isolated successes, they're predictable results of understanding how power actually operates in human relationships. The rules work because they're based on consistent patterns in human psychology that have remained unchanged for centuries. Remember, Machiavelli didn't invent these tactics, he observed them being used by successful leaders throughout history and documented them for others to learn. He wrote The Prince not to teach evil, but to help good people understand the evil that was already being done to them. Knowledge of these tactics is defensive as much as it is offensive. The choice you face isn't between being good and being evil, it's between being strategic and being exploited. These rules aren't about becoming a sociopath, they're about understanding how sociopaths operate so you can protect yourself and achieve your legitimate goals in a world where not everyone plays by the same moral rules you do. You can be kind, generous, and ethical while still being strategic, mysterious, and powerful. You can help others while also helping yourself. You can build people up while also protecting yourself from those who would tear you down. The key is choosing when to apply which approach based on what the situation requires. Use these rules wisely. Defend yourself first, then help others who deserve it. Build power not for its own sake, but for the freedom and security it provides. Become someone who can't be easily manipulated, then use that strength to create the kind of world you want to live in. If you're ready to go deeper into the psychology of power, next week I'm exposing Jung's dark psychology tactics that reveal the hidden motivations driving everyone around you. These are the psychological triggers that master manipulators use to control behavior at the unconscious level. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this content challenges too many powerful interests to stay online forever. Comment dirty rules below if you're ready to take control of your destiny instead of leaving it in the hands of people who see you as a stepping stone to their success. Until next time, remember, the game is already being played whether you participate or not. Your choice is whether to play to win or play to be liked. These rules aren't evil, they're survival tools in a world where wolves dress like sheep and prey on those too innocent to recognize the disguise. Machiavelli wrote them to protect the powerless from predators, not to create more predators. Use them wisely, and you'll never be anyone's victim again.